News Radio. Surprising police investigating a deadly officer-involved shooting. A man in his 50s inside a business armed with a knife.
The officer did make contact with an individual who was a white male in his mid-50s, armed with a knife. During that contact, the officer discharged a firearm, striking the individual.
Tucson police also investigating an officer-involved deadly shooting of an armed robbery suspect.
He actually turned forced entry into an apartment, an occupied apartment. This was not an apartment that he had any relationship to.
Phoenix police opened fire on an arson suspect early this morning. That man's hospitalized.
The officers arrived first, and when they did, they were confronted by a man in a neighboring yard who was armed with a handgun and a knife.
Mesa police arrest 21 people in connection with the prostitution sting.
We had undercover officers and detectives from different units place ads on websites commonly sought out by suspects seeking illegal sex acts.
George Tanner, Arizona News.
It's time for your 1100 KFNX traffic report, brought to you by Unbound.org. Taking a look out to Tempe, we have an accident at the Loop 101 northbound approaching Guadalupe Road. In Phoenix, be on the lookout for a collision at State Route 51 southbound at Shea Boulevard, as well as 35th Ave at Dunlap Ave. We all got to where we are through hard work and a little help. Open a world of opportunity for a child or elder dreaming of a better tomorrow at Unbound.org.
From the KFNX WeatherBug Weather Center, as we head into the evening under clear skies, our low tonight 55. Sunny Thursday with a high near 85. Thursday night clear, overnight low 59. And Friday sunny with a high near 88. I'm Scott Allen Fortney from the KFNX WeatherBug Weather Center.
Currently in downtown Phoenix, it's 79 degrees.
Next news in 30 minutes or when it breaks. Here on Independent Talk, 1100 KFNX.
Don't miss out. It's the final days of Nissan Now. Hurry in for big savings on our entire lineup featuring Rogue with available Nissan intelligent mobility technologies like ProPilot Assist that helps keep you centered in your lane. And Titan, backed by America's best bumper-to-bumper limited truck warranty. The technology of tomorrow is available today at the Nissan Now sales event. This is your last chance to save big. Save up to $11,637 on Titan XD or get the 2018 Frontier starting at just $18,990. Get to Nissan now. But hurry, this event ends April 2nd. Shop ChooseNissan.com and your local Nissan dealer today. For well-qualified buyers, 2017 Titan XD, 8,500 cash back, 1,760 Platinum Reserve Bed Utility Package savings, and 1,377 average dealer discount. MSRP for 2018 Frontier excludes destination tax, title, license, and options. Dealer sets actual price. Take delivery from new dealer stock. ProPilot Assist is an available feature and cannot prevent collisions. Always monitor traffic conditions. Keep both hands on the steering wheel. See owner's manual for safety information. Call 1-888-858-8319 for offer details and limited truck warranty information. Ends 4/2/18.
Live from the Midtown studios of KFNX, it's time for the Wellness Roundtable Radio Show, sponsored by Atrix.com. Now, here's your hosts, Dr. Spear and Dr. White.
Hello, and welcome to the Wellness Roundtable Radio Show. It must be Wednesday at 3 o'clock here in Phoenix, Mountain Standard Time. I'm here along with my co-host, Dr. Scott Weiss from New York City. Scott, how are we doing today?
I'm doing good, Dave. You know, I wanted to make a specific shout-out, being this is KFNX, to Imus, who just recently retired. And I'll tell you, Imus is really probably one of the top, 3 to 5 DJs that have been out there throughout our lifetime. So props to Imus, and I hope you a great time in your retirement.
Oh, that's great. That's really nice to say. Yeah, he definitely was somebody who we grew up with for sure. I wanted to bring up a current event just before we continue with our guests today. But, when we started this radio show, we said basically to the listeners that we would focus on current research and choose topics that are sort of evidence-based. And, we would kind of look for that information that we could back up with something. So, interestingly enough, today I was looking for a current event topic and new information in fitness and new research. And I came across an article that talked about eating before a workout. And they quote the International Journal of Sports Nutrition and Exercise Metabolism, which is no slouch of a journal. I mean, it's got a tremendous impact factor, and it's really highly reputable peer-reviewed journal. And I looked for the study that they talked about in this website, and I can't find it. And it just made me think, and again, I don't want to get on a soapbox here and kind of talk out of turn, but it made me think like there really is a necessity for information that is backed by evidence. Now, whether or not there's an actual study that showed that if you eat breakfast before a treadmill, for 36 minutes, you get a significantly higher fat burning rate, then that's great if there's that study, but there's no reference, there's nowhere to look for this information. So I feel like when we created wellnessroundtable.com, we tried to do sort of exactly the opposite. We try to give people a sort of a venue where they could go, get evidence-based information or people with experience, and then sort of get their questions answered that way. I just wanted to bring that up. I thought that was
I agree with you, Dave. I think that we're always we're always after what truly works, but we can't negate people's true stories, because for years people were eating the bark of a willow tree, and people were making fun of them, but years later we found out it was aspirin. So there is something to be said about, the people that do have their own input. So we're always open to everyone's input, but of course we really like to focus on evidence-based information to make sure what you're doing is proven and backed by research.
And so with that in mind, today we're going to talk to two experts on our topic of spring into fitness. As you know, Scott, the weather is getting nicer, at least it is here. In New York, I'm sure it's getting nicer too. And, spring is the time where people go outside. They start to become a little bit more active, take a little bit more of stock in their health. And we thought that this might be a really interesting topic to bring up because it's so relevant and, getting some tips on how to quote-unquote spring into fitness, and also how the environment kind of affects our skin and what we need to do to protect our skin as we're exercising outside is a really interesting topic that I think our listeners can benefit from. So we're going to have two guests on. Our first guest is Dr. Brenda Letowski, and Dr. Letowski is a board-certified dermatologist by the American Board of Dermatology. Her professional memberships include the American Academy of Dermatology, American Society of Dermatologic Surgery, the American Society of Laser and Medicine, and Women's Dermatologic Society. She served as an investigator for many research studies involving cutting-edge cosmetic technologies, including the latest innovations in cellulite and minimally invasive body contouring, and has also developed her own research studies. She's also written and lectured and has been published in peer-reviewed journals, including the Journal of the American Academy of Dermatology, the Archives of Dermatology, and the Dermatologic Society. So welcome to the show, Dr. Letowski.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me today.
Absolutely. We're so glad that you can join us. And, we're going to have a very interesting conversation, not only about skin health, but about sort of activity, outdoor activity, and how that impacts skin health and what people should be looking for. Our second guest is Scott Keppel, who has been on the show previously. He's the owner of Scott's Training Systems in Chandler, Arizona, and he's a nationally certified personal trainer through the National Academy of Sports Medicine, the International Society of Sports, and MoveNat, and he specializes in nutrition, pageant training, pre- and postnatal fitness, post-breast cancer recovery, weight loss, and general fitness. And he's been featured in the media and taught seminars throughout the nation and has led retreats and goal-setting events, along with promoting bodybuilding and bikini competitions. Welcome to the show, Scott. Are you there? Okay, so we don't have Scott.
I don't hear him, Dave. Yeah,
I don't hear him either. Scott, are you there? Okay. Well, that's all right. I'm sure he'll be joining us in a moment. So, Dr. Letowski, again, thanks so much for being on the show. And, Scott and I really wanted to focus on this idea of springing into fitness. And as you know, we have an environment here that's quite unique in Phoenix. And also, if you look at the East Coast, they've been pelted with a lot of nor'easters, and there's a lot of humidity there. So I'm curious in terms of spring and this time of year, do you start to see that, is there an effect on aging of the skin during this particular time as opposed to other times of the year or other seasons?
Well, that's a good question. I think the spring is an important time to be reminded to wear sunscreen because at least here in Arizona, the weather is so beautiful. We're all enjoying the outdoor activities we have available to us, and that's one reason why many of us live here is to enjoy those outdoor activities. And I always encourage my patients to go ahead and spend time outdoors and enjoy their lives. But the weather's so nice, we don't always feel that the sun is impacting our skin, which in fact it is. And so it can be an easy time to forget to wear sunscreen. So I always encourage people to put on sunscreen this time of year because it's easy to spend several hours outdoors without necessarily getting a burn, but at the same time your skin is aging.
Right.
By the sun.
Right. So is there anything to kind of slow it down besides using sunscreen? Are there other types of tips or routines that can actually slow down the signs of aging?
Well, we're really lucky. There's been a lot of breakthroughs in technology that are anti-aging, but I always start with the basics, which is sunscreen. There's nothing more effective at anti-aging than sunscreen itself, and that's been proven. So prevention's always easiest. So reapplying sunscreen every 90 minutes or at least every 2 hours is really useful, and using a 30 or 50 is what I recommend. However, to answer your question, going a little bit further into that question, a lot of times I recommend antioxidants. Antioxidants such as vitamin C, vitamin E, but other antioxidants such as ferulic acid, resveratrol.
Oh, interesting.
Examples of antioxidants that will neutralize the oxidants produced by the sun or even produced by exercise and could potentially reverse that aging process that we're going through when we're exposed to the sun and even exercise.
Interesting. And Scott, I know you had a question. We have just about 30 seconds before we go to break. But Scott, you want to hold on to your question, and we'll pick that up in the next segment?
Absolutely, and it refers to what is the deal with the numbers and SPF. I think a lot of people are confused with that, so I would love to address that when we get back.
I think that's a great idea, and that could be really informative for the listeners. So we are talking Spring into Fitness with Dr. Brenda Letowski and Scott Keppel. Give us a call at 602-277-5369 or 1-866-536-1100. We'll see you right after the break.
Do you suffer from foot pain? Let Atrex help alleviate some of that pain with a pair of Atrex orthotics. Millions of pairs have been sold to those in need of fast relief from foot pain. Atrex offers a wide selection of orthotics designed for each arch type and footwear style. Visit Atrex.com. That's AETREX.com and get your pair today. Again, that's AETREX.com. Are you tired of traveling or waiting to see a health professional? Now you don't have to. Video chat with an expert anytime, anywhere, and get your health questions answered. Visit wellnessroundtable.com and speak to experts from all over the country in the areas of health, wellness, and fitness. Wellnessroundtable.com offers an on-demand system that allows you to connect to an expert immediately. No scheduling, no appointments necessary. Wellnessroundtable.com. Visit our website and take advantage of our free February promotion, wellnessroundtable.com, where you get your questions answered.
Do you really want to lose weight this coming year? Do you want to be healthier and feel great all the time? Contact Scott Keppel with Scott's training system to help you achieve your goals. Email Scott at scottkeppel.com or call 480-220-1874 and receive a week of in-person or online nutrition and exercise coaching. Space is limited, so contact Scott at scottkeppel.com or call 480-220-1874 today. You can also visit Scott on wellnessroundtable.com. Use the promo code 1100 to get a 20% discount.
Spring is finally here. Time to go outside and enjoy the sun. Wait, do you have questions about your skin health and the do's and don'ts of sun exposure? Speak to the professionals at Clear Dermatology and Aesthetic Center and Valley of the Sun Dermatology, a private practice medical and cosmetic dermatology office and clinical research site. Clear Dermatology has 2 convenient Valley locations, one in North Scottsdale and one off Shea in the 101. For more information or to make an appointment, call 480-398-1550 or visit cleardermatology.net. Mention the word radio and receive 10% off a sunscreen or medical-grade skincare product or 10 free units of Botox in March and April.
Want to speak to an expert? Have a question involving your health and fitness? Visit wellnessroundtable.com and listen to the Wellness Roundtable Radio Hour right here on Independent Talk, 1100 KFNX, every Wednesday at 3 p.m.
Atrix is one of the fastest growing companies in the footwear industry and is widely recognized as a global leader in comfort and wellness footwear products. The Atrix mission is to create the healthiest shoe on the market today. With fashion, function, and quality at the forefront, Atrix designs and manufactures most types of footwear for both men and women. All styles are crafted with care to meet the highest standards in design, incorporate cutting-edge technologies, and offer unmatched customization and adjustability. To learn how Atrix can help you with your feet, go to AETREX.com. That's Atrix.com.
We're back with the Wellness Roundtable Radio Show, and we're talking spring into fitness with Dr. Brenda Letowski, dermatologist here in the Valley, and Scott Keppel, exercise specialist in Chandler, Arizona. And Scott, I just wanted to welcome you to the show. Are you there?
I am, yes.
All right. Hey, great
Scott.
to hear you.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
So we were discussing, what kind of sunscreen to use. And Scott, I believe you had a question about the SPF. So why don't we start there?
Yeah, Dr. Letowski, I think a lot of people are curious to know, when I'm looking in the pharmacy and I'm walking up and down that aisle, I see SPF, 7 to 10 all the way up to 50. What is really necessary and important to use?
Well, I generally recommend at least an SPF of 30 or 50. And that means SPF is sun protective factor. That means basically how much time you can stay in the sun longer with the sunscreen before burning. So SPF of 30 means you could stay in the sun 30 times longer than what you would normally take to burn. However, it shouldn't really be regarded as complete protection because it wears off very quickly, and it's only referring to one type of sun rays, the UVB rays. There's also UVA rays. Most sunscreens these days are both what's called broad spectrum, and broad spectrum means the UVA rays are included, and there's protection from UVB rays as well. But when you see that number, it's just talking about those UVB rays.
So then how do you get protection from the other rays as well?
Well, again, you look for that broad spectrum on the label, and there's no number for the UVA rays. So the best thing to do is just look for a broad spectrum, and then the number you want to focus in on is at least a 30 or higher. Also, you don't have to just rely on sunscreen. You can get what's called UPF clothing, so clothing that has sun protection built into the fabric and that will reflect the sun's rays. And you can also get that type of fabric in hats. So any physical protection, including hats and clothing, will also help protect the skin from the harmful effects of the sun.
That's really interesting because logically it would follow if you used a 50 SPF, you have greater protection for UVB, but do you also get greater protection for UVA if you did that versus, let's say, a 30 SPF? Or is it just kind of UVA is not really regulated, or they don't really know how much protection you get from that?
That's correct. The latter is correct. So that when you see the number, it's only that UVB that it's talking about.
Oh, that's a really interesting piece of information. I wasn't aware of that. So,
and they're both cancer causing, correct, Dr. Letowski?
That's correct. Although UVB, they think is probably more influential on the cancer causing, but both rays are harmful and act together in causing skin cancer.
Wow.
I see.
Wow, really interesting. So, we're talking about skin health as it relates to the environment. And of course, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, this is spring, and it's a time where people want to become a little bit more active in a different way than I think we see after New Year's, right? After New Year's, everyone's gung-ho for their first exercise program. But in the spring, I think especially in cold climates, you get people who are, a little bit more in terms of they're a little bit more avid in terms of their exercise, and they want to go outside. You see this in cities all the time, running and biking and things of that nature. And I wanted to ask Scott, what would be, let's say if you were taking on a new client, what might be 3 tips to help them initiate this sort of spring into fitness methodology?
Yeah, no, that's great. And I agree with what you're saying that, spring does bring on a different new beginning. Like the new year, oftentimes, right, people set New Year's resolutions, but, they're still battling, debt from, vacations and holidays.
Mm-hmm.
So this time of year, they have a pretty good routine, right? If they have kids, they're in school, it's the summer isn't here yet. Work, the first quarter is behind them.
Right.
So they don't have the stress of the ending of the quarter, the start of a new quarter. So it really is a time for like a new beginning. So for me, what I suggest with individuals, one is, write down those goals and share them, with your fitness and your nutrition, and also be honest with, if you did set some in the beginning of the year, how on point have you been? Grade yourself on A through F. Have you been given an A effort? And if not, why not? And what's going to change? Just because it's spring doesn't mean it's going to change.
Correct.
So that's one thing. The other thing, is for individuals to find something, that they love, that they enjoy to do, right? You don't have to go to a gym. And to your point, people on the East Coast especially, that have been battling harsh winters, unlike us here in Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
who really haven't had one, now is a perfect time. If you like to get outside, right? Go ahead and go for a walk or a jog or, whatever it may be. But just start to be active, right? The sun's coming up a little earlier.
Right.
Right. It's definitely warmer. So that's a little easier, for individuals now at this time too. And then lastly, I suggest for individuals this time of year, is to look at their nutrition too. Right, it probably, maybe it wasn't on point again because whatever was going on with the first quarter, end of the last quarter, holidays, everything like that. So to start incorporating some healthier habits, maybe that's, drinking a little more water,
Mm-hmm.
adding another serving or 2 of vegetables,
Mm-hmm.
But just something very basic, just like basic spring cleaning.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, really interesting comments and tips. And, what I find really sort of amazing is that this time of year is when there's a lot of rescues out there in terms of, people who are hiking and, listening to the news and reading about it. You said like drinking a little bit more water, eating more vegetables. So people go out and they go out with a small water bottle and they climb a mountain and then they realize that they have no more water. It's too hot. They kind of underestimate the heat. And so even though I do agree with you that springing into fitness is extremely important, it's really, really important to do it in a way that is safe. And then obviously it's more effective because it can be a real hazard, especially in the environment that we live in, because it's so hot. Whether it's, the sun beating down or dehydration, you really have to be prepared to go outside and start exercising.
No, I agree, and to the point, obviously with the skincare too, right, is people don't realize, because especially on the East Coast, right, maybe they've been inside,
right,
these past 4 or 5 months, and now all of a sudden they go out and they forget that, just because it's cool, it's not as hot as the summer, the sun is still coming down on them.
Correct. Right.
For us in Arizona, we're in a desert. It's a desert climate, so it's dry. And now all of a sudden you go out and you're like, oh, it's so beautiful outside.
Right.
And, you go on this long hike with like a 16-ounce water bottle.
Right.
And it's not, it's not enough. So, yeah, definitely, spring into fitness, but by spring we don't mean just dive fully in, right? We mean spring into it, like start off gradual and, build up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really good point, that it is a sort of a gradual, incremental method that you use to get into it, right? We don't we try not to do anything where we go so intense at the beginning because then sometimes it's very, very difficult to maintain that. We've seen that with a lot of dietary practices. We've seen it with exercise practices. So doing it slowly, I think, is a really good idea. When we come back, we're going to be talking a little bit more about skin health and sunspots and moles. And I'm always kind of interested in that, and to discuss like how our environment or other environments affect those things and what to look out for, and when to see a doctor or when to think that this may be something to be looked at or something that's of concern. So we will be back in just a couple of minutes after our commercial break. But I did want to say before we go that Scott Keppel is having a charity workout to fight childhood obesity on Saturday, April 14th, along with SECA body scans and special rates on vitamin B shots and more. And in addition, they'll be hosting an underwear workout. I don't want to go too far into that, but you don't just wear underwear during the workout. They're actually collecting donations to help women who have been sexually abused. So that date is Saturday, April 14th. Again, we're speaking with Dr. Brenda Letowski and Scott Keppel on springing into fitness. And we'll be right back with the Wellness Roundtable Radio Show.
Fair and balanced. Independent Talk 1100 KFNX. Arizona's only independent voice. Independent Talk 1100 KFNX.
President Trump is firing Veteran Affairs Secretary David Shulkin and replacing him with his personal physician. Correspondent Jeff Zeleny says the president is tapping someone he knows well following a bruising ethics scandal at the VA.
The president, we have been told, did not want to fire Secretary Shulkin before he could hire someone else. About hiring Dr. Ronnie Jackson, certainly interesting. He knows the president very well. He's his physician.
A federal judge in Manhattan rejected Saudi Arabia's bid to dismiss lawsuits claiming that it helped plan the September 11th attacks in 2001 and should pay damages to the victims. The Saudi government has long denied involvement in the attacks. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has gone silent on social media. His internet connection at the Ecuador's London embassy was unplugged because of his recent post criticizing the arrest of a Catalan separatist politician. I'm Barbara Cusack.
It's time for your 1100 KFNX traffic report, brought to you by Unbound.org. Taking a look out to Tempe, we have an accident at the Loop 101 northbound at Elliott Road. In Glendale, be on the lookout for a collision at the Loop 101 southbound at Camelback Road. And in Phoenix, we have a collision at Indian School Road east of 7th Street. You can be the difference between a child continuing their dream of education or leaving it behind. Help make the future brighter for one child at Unbound.org.
From the KFNX WeatherBug Weather Center, as we head into the evening under clear skies, our low tonight 55. Sunny Thursday with a high near 85. Thursday night clear, overnight low 59. And Friday sunny with a high near 88. I'm Scott Allen Fortney from the KFNX WeatherBug Weather Center.
Currently in downtown Phoenix, it's 79 degrees.
Next news in 30 minutes or when it breaks. Here on Independent Talk 1100 KFNX.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
150 over 90, and I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure sounds like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from silent. Get back on your treatment plan or talk with your doctor to create a plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
Head to toe, everything's changed.
Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
Atrix is one of the fastest growing companies in the footwear industry and is widely recognized as a global leader in comfort and wellness footwear products. The Atrix mission is to create the healthiest shoe on the market today. With fashion, function, and quality at the forefront, Atrix designs and manufactures most types of footwear for both men and women. All styles are crafted with care to meet the highest standards in design, incorporate cutting-edge technologies, and offer unmatched customization and adjustability. To learn how Atrix can help you with your feet, go to AETREX.com. That's Atrix.com.
Do you really want to lose weight this coming year? Do you want to be healthier and feel great all the time? Contact Scott Keppel with Scott's Training System to help you achieve your goals. Email Scott at scottkeppel.com or call 480-220-1874 and receive a week of in-person or online nutrition and exercise coaching. Space is limited, so contact Scott at scottkeppel.com or call 480-220-1874 today. You can also visit Scott on wellnessroundtable.com. Use the promo code 1100 to get a 20% discount.
Are you tired of traveling or waiting to see a health professional? Now you don't have to. Video chat with an expert anytime, anywhere, and get your health questions answered. Visit wellnessroundtable.com and speak to experts from all over the country in the areas of health, wellness, and fitness. WellnessRoundtable.com offers an on-demand system that allows you to connect to an expert immediately. No scheduling, no appointments necessary. WellnessRoundtable.com. Visit our website and take advantage of our on-demand system, wellnessroundtable.com, where you get your questions answered. wellnessroundtable.com.
Spring is finally here. Time to go outside and enjoy the sun. Wait, do you have questions about your skin health and the do's and don'ts of sun exposure? Speak to the professionals at Clear Dermatology and Aesthetic Center and Valley of the Sun Dermatology, a private practice medical and cosmetic dermatology office and clinical research site. Clear Dermatology has 2 convenient Valley locations, one in North Scottsdale and one off Shea in the 101. For more information or to make an appointment, call 480-398-1550 or visit cleardermatology.net. Mention the word radio and receive 10% off a sunscreen or medical grade skincare product or 10 free units of Botox in March and April.
Want to speak to an expert? Have a question involving your health and fitness? Visit wellnessroundtable.com and listen to the Wellness Roundtable Radio Hour right here on Independent Talk, 1100 KFNX, every Wednesday at 3 p.m.
Hello and welcome back to the Wellness Roundtable Radio Show. We're talking spring into fitness with dermatologist Dr. Brenda Letowski and exercise specialist Scott Keppel. And we were just discussing kind of springing into fitness and doing it slowly, making it somewhat methodical, and as Scott, as you called it, spring cleaning in a way. We also want to talk a little bit about, you know, the skin health and how it's affected by the environment. So specifically, as we get older, we tend to see, and you know, Dr. Letowski, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we tend to see moles and sunspots and things of that nature. And do we find that the desert environment has a more of a adverse effect on those things than other environments? Does it have to do with the heat of the sun or the exposure to the sun, or is that something that is just genetic?
Well, there's a little bit of each involved, and so the heat itself, we don't really have any evidence that contributes to the moles or the sunspots, but the actual rays of the sun can increase the number of moles that someone develops, especially if they're exposed before the age of 18, but also lifelong. And also, of course, the sun can cause sunspots. Mm-hmm. So that factor of our climate here in Arizona can contribute to those two things.
Okay. And
Dr. Letowski, how do you know the difference between just a sunspot and something that might be cancerous? I think people all the time see things on their body, and, you know, they wait too long to get them checked out. How do they know whether or not to go, you know, rush to a dermatologist like you, or it's just something that's a changing of their pigment of their skin?
That's a really, really great question, and that's something that I think a lot of people struggle with. It is really hard for a non-dermatologist to determine what is just a normal sunspot or what is a little age spot versus what is a mole that is changing that I need to be concerned with, or what is this new mole. And really, if someone has a bad feeling about a spot, or they've noticed the spot changing, whether it's getting bigger or darker or changing shape. Sometimes abnormal spots can itch persistently, or they can bleed very easily, even with just a gentle touch to the skin. A spot starts bleeding. If someone notices a symptom or a sign like that, then they should definitely call a board-certified dermatologist and have it evaluated.
Do the ABCDEs still stand? I mean, do people and dermatologists still, I guess, rely on that to tell patients, or have things changed?
They actually do still stand. It's a great guide for non-dermatologists to use to see if a spot should be evaluated. The bottom line is always going to be that clinical evaluation by a dermatologist. However, the ABCDEs really can be a useful tool to determine whether you should make that call or not to an office.
That's great. Can you?
I don't think so. Yeah,
can you explain the ABCDEs?
Exactly.
Besides the alphabet?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'd be happy to. So A is for asymmetry.
Mm-hmm.
So that goes along with what I talked to about a changing shape. Oftentimes, if you look at your sunspots or your moles, you notice they're circular or they're oval. So if you cut it in half, one side looks like the other side.
Okay.
So if you find that all of a sudden one side starts growing a little arm out of it, or the shape starts getting fuzzy on one side but not the other, then that's asymmetrical, and that could be a warning sign.
Okay.
B is for borders. So again, that's another thing that could signify change. So if the borders were nice and smooth before, so think about a mole you've had for a long time and it has nice smooth borders. All of a sudden you look down at that mole and it's no longer got smooth borders. It's got fuzzy borders, or again, there's one side of it that's growing like a little finger out of it, or a little proliferation out of it. Then that no longer has a nice smooth border. The border has changed, and that could be a warning sign. C is for color. So usually dermatologists like to see one color in a mole. If we see other colors or different shades of colors, for instance, if a mole has several shades of brown in it, that could be a warning sign. If the mole is turning black, that is a warning sign, or even like little black dots within the mole can be a sign that that mole is changing into a melanoma. If the mole gets colors like red or blue, that's also unusual, and you should notify a dermatologist. D is for diameter. This one means that I like to think of it as if the mole is growing, so if the mole is getting bigger in diameter. But also, originally it was meant to mean that a large mole should also be watched carefully. And E is for evolution. Evolution means change, and really the bottom line is change. So if you had a mole for a while, but it's changing, you should really have it looked at. If you get a new spot and it's changing quickly, then definitely have it evaluated.
That's amazing.
That's great. That's really great information. And so, now that we're kind of shifting gears and we'll talk a little bit about the fitness, Scott, what are you currently doing right now with your clientele in terms of springing into fitness? And is there a sort of, are there any kind of discussions with your clients about exercising outdoors and skin health and things of that nature?
Yeah, so great question. So what we're really focusing on at this point is having our clients reevaluate, kind of like I mentioned, giving themselves a grade, and us as coaches to evaluate that, So again, just like a business, right, is how was the first quarter, and, what can we improve upon or continue to work, what has been working. So we're doing that with our clients to let us know. In regards to going outside, and I myself, I'm outside quite a bit. I coach my son in football, so we're outside and we use sunscreen, and I always talk to my clients about doing that, as well as drinking more water. Like I always suggest, that they try and drink at least 0.8 ounces per pound that they weigh.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously the more active they are, to drink more than that. So now's the perfect time to have them track what they're doing, right? So if they're currently drinking half a gallon, and how can we up that? I encourage them, maybe add some fresh fruit to that, or some cucumber, something, if they need a little more flavor. I am one to stick with water more than, sports drinks or things like that, unless, you're exerting that much effort and energy that you need the electrolyte.
Right.
Outside of that, I think sometimes people turn to those and then get the added sugars, and, that leads to, a whole other sort of issues. So, and then trying to get them to eat more fruit too, right? That's another way people can increase their fluid intake without actually drinking water.
Yeah, for sure. Those are all great, great tips. And, so what you're doing on Saturday, April 14th with this charity workout, are the current clients that you're working with part of that, or are you bringing in, new people kind of from the outside for that?
We want to bring in as many people as we can,
okay.
Because, it's for, the 14th will be to help fight child obesity.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, that's been on the rise,
mm-hmm.
Due to many, things, which, that's a whole nother discussion.
A whole other show, yeah.
Yeah, but whatever we can do to help raise money to put back into efforts to help educate people, is what we want to do. So
Sounds
that
great.
will be Saturday, the 14th, and then we're going to separate the other charity event. So the underwear drive, yes, please don't just show up just in underwear.
Right.
that will cause some heads to turn, not in a good way.
Right.
But we will be collecting, new undergarments, sports bras, underwear for, sexually abused women. And that will be another charity event. So we use this time of year, right, to really do a lot of charitable events because, people love to get outside.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just a great way to combine fitness with a great cause, too.
Sounds great. It sounds great. So we're going into our last segment, and we're going to talk about something that I think both of you can speak to. Dr. Letowski mentioned the use of resveratrol, and I'm curious as to what effect it would have on the skin, but also what effect it has on exercise. So we'll be right back with the Wellness Roundtable Radio Show. We're talking spring into fitness.
Are you tired of traveling or waiting to see a health professional? Now you don't have to. Video chat with an expert anytime, anywhere, and get your health questions answered. Visit wellnessroundtable.com and speak to experts from all over the country in the areas of health, wellness, and fitness. Wellnessroundtable.com offers an on-demand system that allows you to connect to an expert immediately. No scheduling, no appointments necessary. Wellnessroundtable.com. Visit our website and take advantage of our on-demand system, wellnessroundtable.com, where you get your questions answered. Wellnessroundtable.com.
Spring is finally here. Time to go outside and enjoy the sun. Wait, do you have questions about your skin health and the do's and don'ts of sun exposure? Speak to the professionals at Clear Dermatology and Aesthetic Center and Valley of the Sun Dermatology, a private practice medical and cosmetic dermatology office and clinical research site. Clear Dermatology has 2 convenient Valley locations, one in North Scottsdale and one off Shea in the 101. For more information or to make an appointment, call 480-398-1550 or visit cleardermatology.net. Mention the word radio and receive 10% off a sunscreen or medical-grade skincare product or 10 free units of Botox in March and April.
Do you really want to lose weight this coming year? Do you want to be healthier and feel great all the time? Contact Scott Keppel with Scott's Training System to help you achieve your goals. Email Scott at scottkeppel.com or call 480-220-1874 and receive a week of in-person or online nutrition and exercise coaching. Space is limited, so contact Scott at scottkeppel.com or call 480-220-1874 today. You can also visit Scott on wellnessroundtable.com. Use the promo code 1100 to get a 20% discount.
Have you ever considered capitalizing on the millions of dollars being made in the vacation rental business? If so, you need to meet the guys over at Lux Home Pro. They are hosting a 2-day event at the W Hotel in Scottsdale on April 6th through the 8th. Seating is limited. They will teach everything you need to know about locating, negotiating, setup, and marketing of your property for huge profits. You don't even have to own a property. But first, you must apply online at luxhomepro.com. That's luxhomepro.com, spelled LUXHOMEPRO.
Atrix is one of the fastest growing companies in the footwear industry and is widely recognized as a global leader in comfort and wellness footwear products. The Atrix mission is to create the healthiest shoe on the market today. With fashion, function, and quality at the forefront, Atrix designs and manufactures most types of footwear for both men and women. All styles are crafted with care to meet the highest standards in design, incorporate cutting-edge technologies, and offer unmatched customization and adjustability. To learn how Atrix can help you with your feet, go to AETREX.com. That's Atrix.com.
When all the birds are singing in the sky.
We're back with the Wellness Roundtable Radio Show, and we're talking spring into fitness with Dr. Brenda Letowski and Scott Keppel. And Dr. Letowski, you mentioned in the first segment that we should be using antioxidants. One of them you mentioned kind of caught my ear, which is resveratrol, which is known to come from the tannins of red grapes and supposedly is in high concentrations in red wine. But it's definitely been shown through research that resveratrol has an effect on cardiovascular function. So is there a connection there with sort of what you put on your skin and an impact on cardiovascular function or overall health?
Well, I wouldn't expect the resveratrol that's in skincare products to be absorbed significantly enough to have any cardiovascular effects. Okay. However, the compound itself can be beneficial in several ways and to several different systems in the body. And so the resveratrol is a very powerful antioxidant and efficient antioxidant. In the skin, that translates into neutralizing and preventing sun damage, as I mentioned earlier, so specifically from the rays of the sun, helping to repair the DNA damage that the sun's rays can cause. And that also translates into anti-aging qualities and, probably anti-skin cancer effects as well.
Interesting. So, and that's just topical. You just kind of put that on. And you put that on in addition to sunscreen, or is there sunscreen that is actually made with the ingredient of resveratrol?
None that I know of currently, although it's a great idea. But there are formulations that have just the resveratrol in it. There's one in particular that I like, and I have no conflict of interest with this company, but it's the SkinCeuticals brand has a gel that has resveratrol in it. And, you were talking at the beginning of the show the need for evidence-based recommendations. Sure. And there's some scientific literature that shows that this particular SkinCeuticals product actually gets into the skin cells and therefore is very effective inside the skin cells. Antioxidants can be very difficult to actually get through the cell membrane and get into the cell where it will work. So that's why I recommend that brand.
Oh, that's great. That's really interesting. And as I mentioned before, with the effect of resveratrol on cardiovascular function, research, it's been out for quite a while, but the amount of resveratrol in order for it to have an impact is quite large. I remember the first studies that were done in mice showing that there was a change in cardiovascular function, basically showed that the amount in a human would have to be, a multiple of the amount that were used in animals. But it's still quite interesting that the same compound is being used on the skin as it's being used in improving cardiovascular function. And so, Scott, when it comes to springing into fitness, what kind of cardiovascular activity are you recommending? Is there any particular activity that you feel has more of an impact than others?
That's a great question. There really isn't. I feel, whatever you're going to do, you should do. If you're getting ready for a marathon, you should run.
Right.
If it's triathlon, you need a little bit of everything. But outside of that, I feel get out and do whatever the person is going to do. Here in Arizona, we have so many mountains to hike.
Yeah.
Something to be mindful of, though, is the coming down. That's a lot on an individual's knees.
Mm-hmm.
That oftentimes people forget, and they just get up and then they run down, as well as just the safety of, not slipping and falling. That's something to be mindful of. If someone is going to go for just a run, keeping in mind, too, that that's very high impact.
Right.
Oftentimes people forget that and they just think, I'm going to go for a jog, but, maybe they've been locked up all winter. So they're tight because they're sitting and their hamstrings are tighter, their low back's tighter, maybe they put on some weight,
mm-hmm.
And then they go out and every step, is hundreds of pounds of pressure, and they don't realize that. So, I suggest, keep it simple, stupid. It's worked for me. And, maybe you say today I have 30 minutes and I really feel an individual needs at least 20 minutes,
mm-hmm.
To really start to get the cardiovascular benefits of that. So, and go, for instance, today, maybe it's a walk. And today you walk however far. Tomorrow, try and walk a little farther. You worked a little harder. You burned a little more. And, that way you don't have to worry about, going out and buying all these expensive garments and things that are great. But, it's, again, just a way to get going.
Yeah, no, it's great. And Scott Weiss, being a rehab specialist, are you... And I know you're a hiker. I know you've been out in this area. There are people who run down these mountains, and the eccentric forces are extreme. Are you finding more injuries now that people are kind of out there and they're exercising, they're more active?
I think that as soon as people go outside, being in an open environment with things moving, cars going by, and just being outside and having that effect definitely translates into more possibility of interactions with other objects. So yeah, as you're outside, you're not in your home on your treadmill with nothing going on.
Right.
When you're outdoors, yes, you have to be aware of that stuff. But I do like the heightened awareness of your neurological system while you're doing that. And I think that's also a benefit of being outside. To get the smells, to get the awareness, to get the sounds, that's all part of exercise as well.
Yeah. You and I were discussing earlier this week the sort of when we exercise outside and we're on different terrain, how that affects various sides of the body. It's almost like exercising on sort of a pitched surface. And I always thought that if you run down the beach one way, you have to run down the beach the other way to kind of almost equilibrate, right? You don't want to put too much stress on one side of the body. Do you find that happens? Well,
I guess here in New York, our streets that, are made for more drainage,
mm-hmm.
do kind of pitch down. So we recommend people run back on the same side they ran on towards. Just because you don't want that, so to say, right side always dropping. And that is something to be of concern. Out there, I guess you have trails, so you're, I picture you running on different terrains, different surfaces,
right.
hopping off of rocks. That really gets a good neuromotor balance. But doing the same thing consistently here on paved roads, as many people do in New York City, I think is, it's just good to modify that and make sure that they switch it up.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. So, I wanted to, believe it or not, we're kind of, in our last segment, and we have a couple of minutes left, but in those couple of minutes, I wanted to mention, Dr. Letowski, you're doing some research on plaque psoriasis, and the clinical study is for a new investigation, a topical ointment for plaque psoriasis accompanied by itching. So you're looking for individuals 12 years of age or older who have mild to moderate plaque psoriasis experiencing itching on a daily basis. And if there's anyone out there who is experiencing this, please visit www.cleardermatology.net for more information, or give them a call at 480-440-5985, or you can call Investigate MD at 480-440-5985. And so I just wanted to thank you for your time, Dr. Letowski, and for all of the really good information that you provided our listeners.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks very much. We'd love to have you on again, maybe in the studio next time, if possible. But
I'd love to.
Yeah, it was just great. You know, a lot of the information that you presented was information I'm sure people were not really aware of. So it's always great to put that out there. And Scott, I wanted to mention again that it's wonderful that you're having a charity workout on Saturday, April 14th for childhood obesity. What a great cause. And the underwear workout you don't have a date for, but that's to be announced. But if you did want more information on that, you can go to www.scottkeppel, that's KEPPEL.com, or give them a call at 480-220-1874. So again, it goes too quickly every week. I wish this show was 4 hours long. We have a ton to talk about. But we will be with you next week on Wednesday with the Wellness Roundtable Radio Show. And I am Dr. David Spear, along with my co-host, Dr. Scott Weiss. And we're saying goodbye for now. And good health to all of you out there. We'll see you next week.
You've been listening to the Wellness Roundtable Radio Show right here on Independent Talk 1100 KFNX. Tune in next week for more from the experts on the Wellness Roundtable Radio Show.
Atrix is one of the fastest growing companies in the footwear industry and is widely recognized as a global leader in comfort and wellness footwear products. The Atrix mission is to create the healthiest shoe on the market today with fashion, function, and quality at the forefront. Atrix designs and manufactures most types of footwear for both men and women. All styles are crafted with care to meet the highest standards in design, incorporate cutting-edge technologies, and offer unmatched customization and adjustability. To learn how Atrix can help you with your feet, go to AETREX.com. That's Atrix.com.
Question. When you walk into the boardrooms of the most successful companies here in Arizona, who do you meet? Answer. Men and women who played high school sports. Education-based high school sports give us more than athletes we can root for. They give us leaders we can depend on. Question. So where will we find tomorrow's leaders? Answer. High school sports.
This message presented by the Arizona Interscholastic Association and the Arizona Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
You're listening to Independent Talk, 1100 KFNX, Cave Creek, Phoenix, a division of Premier Radio Stations, the home of the Savage Nation.